Today we're going to take a walk through a simple version of my workflow. As we get through more videos, we'll get into a little bit more depth in some of the other things that I do when I'm on the road. But today we're going to primarily talk about what happens whenever I am out on a shoot. Scenario here would be, say I'm at a music festival and say a client is a beverage company. I don't want to say what beverage company is because I don't want to get in any undue promotion that they haven't earned. But let's say I'm at a music festival and the goal for the day while I'm out there is to get shots of people consuming the beverages, feeling good about life. You know, I'm looking for, young, healthy looking people dancing, having a good time, and kind of portraying the lifestyle that we want to portray with the brand that I'm promoting. So basically what I'm doing, and you saw this in the previous video, I'm walking out there with a Fuji X100T, and I've got the Fuji X-T1. And the workflow for both of these is a little bit different depending upon the situation that I'm in. I'm going to show you one workflow today using the X-T1 and an iPad, and then I'm going to shoot another video using the X100T and an iPhone. The differences between the two of those mainly is because the iPhone itself will not accept the Lightning to SD card reader that the iPad will. So I prefer to use the reader because it's faster for me to get photos onto the iPad. But when that's not possible, either I'm in a situation where I don't have the iPad with me, maybe I've got one camera on my phone, that's it, then I use the Fuji app to transfer wirelessly photos from the cameras to the phone, and both cameras accept the Fuji app. So the things we're working with today are going to be the Fuji X-T1, and then I'm going to grab my iPad and have this opened up and ready to go. Clear screen, nothing behind the curtains there. And then my other piece is, the other critical element is the SD card reader. Again, this is convenience for me because it's faster. If I didn't have the SD card reader, then in both scenarios with the phone and with the iPad app, I would just use the Fuji photo receiver app on both of them because they work through Wi-Fi. I like using the phone better because I've got obviously direct access through the cell network to post stuff immediately. On the iPad, I have to have the iPhone with me because I've got to tether to the iPhone to get stuff up to the web. So my typical scenario would be if I'm out in the field and I'm shooting, what I would be doing is using the iPhone and doing it wirelessly and not having to tether to an iPad. When I get back to the hotel room at the end of the night, I pull everything off of my cards onto the iPad, or I push them over to my Western Digital Wi-Fi hard drive, which we'll talk about in another video, how I use that. And then I'll go through those as though they were just a hard drive on a computer and pick the ones I want and take my time to edit them. So let's talk about what we're going to do. So I'm in the field, I'm shooting, I come across you. You are young and fresh and you're drinking Topo Chico, and I want to get a picture of you. So I stop and I ask you, hey, is it okay if I take your picture? And they say, why? You're kind of a creeper. And I say, well, because I work for Topo Chico and I can put you up on my social media accounts. And they say, yeah, that's a great idea. So I take a few shots of you drinking the Topo Chico, and now my photos are on the card, right? So what I'll do is I will quickly, not necessarily every time I take a picture, but when it's time to put stuff up on the internet, I pull the SD card out of the camera, I pop it into the Apple SD card Lightning connector reader, and we'll go to this other camera here and show you what I'm going to do here and what happens. Plug that into the bottom of the iPad, and you're going to see the iPad is going to recognize that card, open up the app and say, hey, do you want to import these? Look at you, you look good. Can you see yourself? Look at you. In this situation, I'm going to say import all. Okay, import complete. Do you want to delete or keep? I always want to keep the photos on the card. Now my photos are imported into the iPad. They're all sitting there. And now it's time for me to do whatever editing that I want to on them, and then to get them ready to go to the internet. So first thing I will do, if I decide that the color chrome filter on the image, and let me go back a little bit. On the camera, my settings on the camera, whenever I shoot, and this is for both of these cameras, are I'm shooting JPEGs, and I shoot JPEGs because everything I shoot is going straight to the web, and it's just easier to work with JPEG than RAW files whenever you're dealing with mobile devices like this. I shoot in a 16:9 aspect ratio because I just like that. And then I use, within the camera itself on Fuji cameras, you have different film emulations that you can mimic different types of classic Fuji films. And whenever I used to shoot on 35mm film with that Canon AE1 back there, I used the classic chrome film for color, and I use neopan for black and white. So luckily for me, Fuji has been nice enough to replicate the look and the feel of those different types of film within the camera. So whenever I'm shooting color on my digital cameras, I'm emulating the classic chrome on these. So these come out of the camera. They're inside the iPad, and the first thing I want to do, if I'm in a situation where I want to apply an additional bit of coloration, and usually what I do is I want to mute colors on the photos. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the images. So I'll go and I'll say, hey, there you are. You were drinking a Topo Chico. You're looking good at the music festival. Actually, you're a GoPro camera. Let's say that I decide that that image needs to be muted. The colors need to be muted a little bit because that's just, you know, the way that I like to have my images appear on the web. First thing I'm going to do is going to go into VSCO. I click on the library app. I add this image by clicking the plus button. And look at you there with the little red dot on you smiling at me. Open it up here in VSCO. Don't let that fall down. Come on, buddy. We'll go ahead and edit it this way. And the filter that I like to use in VSCO, and actually the only filter that I ever use in VSCO, is F2. Typically what I'll do is I will adjust how much of that filter is applied to the image. That's nothing. That's everything. And what that does is that mutes the colors generally, and it reduces some of the contrast. It's a look that I like. We will go back to where that image is, and I will save it. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to take that image and I want to export that out to the Photos app again, so I can work with it in a couple of different apps. So I'm going to save it to Camera Roll. And at this point, I'm done with VSCO. So the next thing I want to do is I want to square this up. Now, there's already the 16:9 crop of this image sitting on the iPad at this point in time, and I will use that for Twitter and for Facebook and G+. But for Instagram, I want this thing squared up because my sensibilities say that I want the whole image there on my post. So I open it up in InstaSquare. There's a bunch of different apps that'll do this for you. I don't do anything in this. All I do is open it up. It's already squared up, and I hit save. So I want to check inside the photo app to make sure it's squared up, and it's hard to tell here because it's squared up and it's going to fit inside the screen, but I'm going to trust that the app did what it's supposed to do. We'll find out here in a second. Now that photo has already been saved. It's already squared up. It's already been completely edited to the extent that I need it to be. I might sometimes take it into something like an app like Over or something else and add some text to the images, but typically I don't. I'm just putting the text down inside of the caption of the photo itself. So next step would be to go to Instagram. Now it's super critical for me to work fast whenever I'm doing this is for me to already have Instagram signed in to the client's account that I'm working with. So in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and just post this onto my Instagram account. I'm going to go ahead and click on the camera icon here in the bottom to grab my photo. You have the option of to shoot a video, take a photo, or I want to grab a photo from my library. And we can see here that sure enough, that Square Up app squared the images for me. And you can see here in Instagram that the app has got the white bars on top and bottom, so that the 16:9 still comes through on the app for us. Again, I'm not doing anything in Instagram. It's very rare that a photo of mine on Instagram will have an Instagram filter on it. I do that beforehand if I'm going to do it. And then I want to write a caption. So this is a pretty and we'll hit OK. And I could tag you, but I don't know what your name is. So I'll go ahead and post that. And you'll see that it posts up now to Instagram under my Live Loud Texas account. So all is fair and good. If you're watching the video and you've got Instagram, it'd be great if you go and leave a comment on that. So this is my entire workflow for whenever I'm working for a client in the field. And again, can be a sporting event. It can be a street festival, music festival. I work in food and wine festivals, things like that. Whenever we're trying to post stuff at the event, when the event is happening, because that is the best time from a social media standpoint for you to gin up as much attention that you can related to the event. In later videos, I will talk in more in depth about what you do from a social media standpoint to take advantage of current events in order to get more people to see your content. So that's a quick demo of the entire workflow that I have whenever I'm in the field working for a client using the iPad 4, using the SD card reader and the Fuji X-T1. I will tell you that I skipped a step in this because since I'm shooting this at the studio, I have Wi-Fi connectivity on my iPad. The last thing that I would have done, or I probably would have done before I even arrived at the event, I would have tethered my iPad 4 to the iPhone and had that going the entire day, so that when I pulled the iPad out and I started working on stuff, it would already be connected and I wouldn't have to take that step. But I just want to mention that either your iPad needs to have, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, one of those connectors, T-Mobile, cellular networks connected to it, or if it's a Wi-Fi only, you're going to have to tether the device or find an open Wi-Fi to be able to connect to. So that's the workflow. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave a comment. Questions are great. Next week, I'm going to shoot you guys a video showing you the workflow with the Fuji X100, X100T in an iPhone, wirelessly connected. And it's going to essentially be a similar, almost identical process, but there's a couple of different steps in that. And it goes a lot faster because in that scenario, I'm not pulling out devices and I'm not having to tether and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.